House of Representatives wraps up tax hearings, commits to reforms. Reps face tough questions from stakeholders during public engagement. And lawmakers back legislation aimed at strengthening capacity of security agencies to protect lives and property. From tax reforms aimed at boosting revenue to security funding and the state of education financing, how will these policies translate to real change? We'll find out just in a bit. Welcome to You and Your Reps. I am Victor Azu. The House of Representatives has assured Nigerians that their concerns will shape the final versions of 4 critical tax reform bills before Parliament. Now, at the close of a 3-day public hearing, Chairman of the House Committee on Finance, James Faleke, pledged that lawmakers would refine the bills to address key gaps raised by stakeholders, ensuring a more effective tax system. With the hearings now concluded, all eyes are on the National Assembly as it moves to finalize the bills before passage.
More individuals and groups appear before Parliament to dissect the tax reform bills as they affect or assuage their interests. The volatility of foreign exchange rate is the concern of licensed forex operators who appeal for tax exemption, among other propositions.
Most of the transactions done by the Bureau de Change will eventually be transferred to the end users. It will worsen the inflation as we depend highly on importations.
The tax ombudsman have jurisdiction nationwide, even on matters of fiscal policy. This is unconstitutional.
NIPC as the processing agency of the incentives should be empowered under this act to make recommendations to the President for amendment of the list.
Most taxpayers, sometimes we are able to track them. So we are asking that Section 85 of the current Personal Income Tax Act should be retained in the Nigerian tax bill.
The tendency of business enterprises in free trade zones to abuse tax exemption was also highlighted with advocacy for stronger regulations.
We have even seen worse cases of some free zone enterprises that want to import luxury vehicles, armored cars, yachts, some of them aircrafts.
Parliament received accolades for engaging Nigerians in the consideration of the tax bills, which many believe seek to advance national economic fortunes.
Nigerians expect that arising from this bill will be a regime that will recognize their sacrifices. They would also see the result of their sacrifices.
There is no law that is, no bill that is perfect. That is why because it comes to us as a proposal. And when it comes as a proposal, we present it to the public. We've done that now. Public have responded to us. We will now look at every detail. When we finish and we lay a report and it is discussed on the floor or debated and passed, we will compare with what the Senate passed. Any areas of differences, we will harmonize.
When the public hearing opened last Tuesday, House leaders assured Nigerians of a thorough review of the proposed tax reforms. Now, the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee defended the bills, saying they aim to simplify tax collection, seal revenue leaks, and create a business-friendly environment. But not everyone is convinced. Industry players and civil society groups warn that small businesses could bear the brunt, raising concerns about the implementation process.
The 4 proposed tax bills contain crucial reforms put forward by the executive arm of government to expand the nation's tax base and strengthen tax administration in Nigeria. The House leadership is confident that the bills will repeal archaic tax laws and modernize tax administration.
This public hearing will help us identify areas requiring amendment, clarification, and improvement, while also considering the compatibility of these bills with the 1999 Constitution.
Interest groups made observations bordering on definition and accreditation of tax agents, as well as the need to eliminate conflict of jurisdiction in tax administration and revenue collection.
We should encourage collaboration, integration of operations between customs and the tax authority, not to abolish customs or not to repeal a law because we want to do another law.
We want a situation whereby, tax practice as it is not just left to every or any professional body.
We are strongly of the opinion that VAT should remain at 7.5%. The threshold for tax exemption should be increased from the current 800,000 per annum as proposed in the bill to 2.5 million per annum.
The current bill is not offering you free trade zone. So what it means is that it will be retroactive when you apply the effect of that section 142. So this is dangerous. It's going to create unnecessary litigations.
You can set to the turn of 25% in custom area without any taxes. But anything you sell beyond that 25, you will be subjected as if you produce it within custom area. The only tools, and I repeat, to validate whether you sell outside or not, is to ask all of you to go and bring your remittance from CPN. You will see that all of them will run.
Other concerns border on separation of powers in the board of the proposed Nigeria Revenue Service and clarification on tax for personal and family income.
This provision is not new, number one. Number two, is not in any way introducing inheritance tax. And by the way, this is the income of the state, not the federal government. Why would we want to do that?
The Chief Executive Officer of the proposed Nigeria Revenue Service, being not only the Chief Executive, but also the Chairman of the Governing Board, we recommend that these two roles should be separated.
We seek clarification that there's no total clarity on the position on taxation of non-resident companies.
And the House of Representatives is backing legislation aimed at strengthening the capacity of security agencies to protect lives and property. Now, this commitment was made at another public hearing on a bill to establish the Nigeria Security and Intelligence Trust Fund.
Security experts here agree that Nigeria's security and intelligence agencies are underfunded in the face of growing criminality. The bill seeking establishment of Nigeria's Security and Intelligence Trust Fund is described as timely to address budget shortfalls and funding gaps that hinder the capacities of security agencies to deliver on their mandate.
The bill is actually to provide alternative funding for the intelligence agency outside the budgetary allocation, to reduce the burden and dependence on budget allocation,
and enhance capacity for intelligence gathering, training, equipment, with overall aim of nipping security challenges in the bud.
At another public hearing on bills to establish 10 federal colleges of education, there is consensus that Nigeria's growing population places a demand for more teacher training institutions.
The proposed Federal College of Education Technical Paskari Katsina State will address the seeming imbalance in the spread of the such colleges in the Northwest Geopolitical Zone.
And when we establish schools, these schools must reflect the new thinking, the new worldview.
Meanwhile, the Southeast Caucus in the House of Representatives has appealed to the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to consider reopening the Onitsha Bridgehead Market in Anambra State.
The wholesome and indefinite sealing of a market that caters for over 90% of the medication needs of the Southeast and South-South regions may not be the best approach. More so when it is considered that many of the other traders in the same market are genuine businessmen and women.
The Onitsha Bridgehead Market was sealed by NAFDAC as part of a nationwide raid on fake and substandard medicines in the country.
What exactly is an enabling act. Now, the chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waiva, explains its role in shaping laws on specific issues. Let's hear from him.
The term Enabling Act is used to refer in a discussion to the Act of Parliament that gives power to a particular issue. For instance, if you are discussing elections and you want to refer to the Electoral Act, the Electoral Act 2022, for example, is the enabling act for the elections that took place in 2023, the general elections of 2023, and presently the enabling act for any elections in the country until we go on to amend the Electoral Act. I'm talking specifically of the Electoral Act as an example. So in any issue, the law, the act of Parliament that has been signed into law that deals with that specific issue, that becomes the enabling act for that particular matter. That what gives credence, that gives power, gives authority to that particular issue. And that becomes the law that guides the practice or execution of a particular mandate.
Nigeria's 2025 education budget stands at 3.52 trillion naira, making up 7.3% of the total budget. Now, while this is a sharp increase from 1.1 trillion naira in 2024, it's still a drop from 2015, when education got 10.75%. So, what does this mean for the future of education? We asked Chairman of the House Committee on University Education, Abubakar Fulata, to break it down.
Education has fared fairly well, even though it has not met the UN 26% of the national budget requirement. But all the same, education has fared fairly better than the previous year. The previous year we had a budget of 1.1 trillion to the education sector. This year we have had over 100% increment. We have 2.5 trillion allocated to education. Ordinarily, if we are to go by the UN requirements, I think we should have 26% of 54 trillion would translate to a substantial amount of money. But all the same, we've never had it so big like this in the history of Nigeria. So I think I can say that the education has fared very well under the 2025 budget. It translates to a better infrastructure, better payments for lectures, but the issues relating to ASU, they are not, some are not purely financial. Some of the issues are administrative, especially when you talk of issues like employment, issues related to promotion, issues related to the payment system. These are all administrative issues. They are not financial per se. But in general terms, the budget would translate to better infrastructure, a better condition of living for the universities and education, for tertiary institutions, for the entire education sector, starting with primary schools, secondary schools, and tertiary institutions, and also the ministry itself. So it will translate to better services in the education sector. there was a formal communication to Mr. Speaker from Mr. President declaring to the National Assembly that he has had additional revenue accruing to the Federation account. Therefore, since budget 2025 has not been passed, he wanted those extra funds to be committed to 2025 appropriation bill. So he has not done anything wrong. For him to have declared that yes, since the budget has not been passed, this amount has been realized, should be added onto the appropriation bill, and it was so. And he specifically requested that it should be applied to certain areas, agriculture, water resources, mineral resources, solid mineral resources, and so forth. So he was very, very specific. That's why it's called a bill. Once a proposal, it's just a proposal. Once the budget is presented to the National Assembly is at liberty to yank certain amounts from one subhead and apply it to another. It depends on the justification. That's why, after Mr. President might have presented the budget, head of MDS are requested to come appear before the National Assembly and defend those proposals. If we are not able to properly defend a certain proposal, the allocation made to your ministry, the committee concerned is at liberty to yank a certain amount of money and apply it to somebody within your own jurisdiction. So there's nothing wrong with this. The National Assembly has the power to increase, to yank, to decrease. We are at liberty. It's our power to do so. There's a confluence of opinion on the retention of the TED fund, not only TED fund. There's also an Aseni and also the other agency, what do you call it? There are 3 agencies that are supposed to be phased out by the bill, by the 4 bills, and there's a general confluence of opinion that in view of the fact that TED fund, Naseni and the other agencies that are marked for phasing out are playing a very, very critical role in the economy, in society, and for TED fund, especially without the TED fund, most of the infrastructure developments in our tertiary institution wouldn't have taken place. So there's a general agreement by all stakeholders that TED fund must be retained as an institution to continue improving our educational infrastructure. So it's not true. That is just a proposal, and like any other bill, it will be subjected to debate. It will be we've done what it has gone through second reading. It's now being subjected to public opinion now. After the public opinion, the respective the committee on finance will now submit its report to the House in plenary, and then it will be referred to the committee of the whole, where we do clause by clause consideration. And at that point, the true bill itself will come out. The budget is just a statement of intention. The intentions are good, but then everything is also dependent on funding the budget itself. So if the budget is implemented, it will go a long way. A lot of new institutions have been established. The budget will be used to finance their takeoff. So it depends on the availability of cash, the funding of the budget. If the budget is well funded as intended, then there will be tremendous improvements in the education sector.
And that's where we leave it on you and your reps today. Keep the conversations going, stay engaged, and hold your representatives accountable. I am Victor, as well. See you next time.